Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Here with Gabriel, I want to introduce a little bit. Number one, we're going to introduce him, but a little bit about the videos. We're going to be doing little segments talking about, of course, Gabriel, his background, what he does, talk about Better Plant, talk about the industry a little, and a bunch of other things. I invite anyone watching these videos, if you've got questions, if you've got things you want us to cover, let us know. We'll definitely throw it in some segments. But here we go. Gabriel, first things first, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Fantastic. I know you just mentioned you're back in Vancouver, so you left the cold Toronto and our foot of snow, and you went to Vancouver. So I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
But here, to dive into it pretty quick, I love to kind of start off with usually like where you went to school, first couple jobs, what you were doing before
Oof.
Better Plants. Just start firing away.
It's a long, long story. I've traveled around a lot. So a little bit about me. I've never actually been in the same country continuously for longer than 7 years, even going back to a kid. So I've lived in South America, North America, Canada, obviously, UK, Australia. Yeah. So lots of different places.
Why so much
Um,
travel?
It started off as a kid. My dad was in the airline business, and so his job was setting up airports and routes and things like that. So we moved around a bit as a kid, and then my parents just, brought my sisters and I up in that mentality that when you're 18, you get out of the house, you go and make it on your own. You go to school, you get a job, you go and live your life, right? So when I was 18, I moved to the UK just because I wanted to go study there, become an archaeologist, obviously, living the dream as I am right now. Ended up in the UK, got a job in a content marketing agency, which this is a while ago. So this was the time before Facebook. And we weren't really a content marketing company. We didn't know we were a content marketing because that didn't exist. We just provided content. And I worked my way up through that company to become their marketing manager. In the UK, we had tons of offices. It was going really, really well. And then my boss, CEO at the time, was like, "Hey, this is taken off. Content marketing is a thing. We should maybe start this in the US." So him and I moved to Boston, um, went there, set up the company, which is still going strong today. And we had an office in Chicago, and an office in San Francisco, and mainly focusing on marketing and different types of content marketing, video graphics, infographics, stuff like that. And I was their VP of marketing, and that was going so well that after 3 years, my boss was like, "Hey, this is going well. Maybe we should try Asia Pacific next." And I was like, "Sure." So let's go to Sydney. So I went to Sydney with another director, set up the office there and in New Zealand. And we were looking at the Singapore market. And again, like it's just, as we know, content marketing is king when it comes to marketing and e-commerce.
How different is content marketing? Just curious. I sorry to interrupt you. Just
No,
curious.
it's okay.
How different is content marketing from Boston to Sydney? Is
Yeah.
yeah.
It's different. It's certainly different, but the cool thing is just like where they were at their stages of lives as a market, right? So the
Yeah.
US was a lot more developed in terms of
Got it.
where they were with regards to SEO or search engine optimization, where they were with just internet marketing, online marketing at the time. And so a lot of the things that we did in the US, we then kind of started leading in Australia, right? So content marketing for the purposes of SEO was huge at that point. Was just starting to take off in Australia. Content marketing for the purposes of brand and branding was just starting to take off. So slightly different in terms of where they were, but not too different in terms of just what they're trying to achieve. So yes, I did that for about 3 years, and then my wife was like, "Okay, that's enough. We've traveled around a lot now. Let's look for the next place." And she wanted to do a master's in something niche, which is archival studies. So we moved to Vancouver, Canada, which is where I am now. Been here for 6 years, and yeah, still working in marketing.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Talk to me like you mentioned you kind of went to school for not really what sounds like it's related to marketing. What was it just I just needed a job and I fell into it and like, wow, I'm good at this? Or was this you loved marketing, like you had a passion? Like talk me through that.
Yeah, so it's kind of both, right? Like I got into content marketing just as a job, needing a job. Didn't really know what the marketing agency was like at the time. Didn't really know what I was getting into, and then started to fall in love with it. So I always describe myself, or like to describe myself, and I think hopefully others around me would describe me the same way, as a positive person and someone who sees like the glass half full in a lot of things. And so when I started working in marketing, I started realizing that a lot of people think of marketing as just somebody trying to convince somebody or people to buy products that they don't actually need, right? It's like another version of sales. But what I what I did, or why it got me energized, is because in reality it's about tapping into their genuine enthusiasm for a product or a service that they find useful, or that they find fun or beautiful. And so, in other words, marketing is about spreading the love. Marketing is about spreading that passion and making connections, and that aligned with my personality. So immediately it was just like, wow, this is a fit.
Okay. No, awesome. Well, talk to me. So, do you want to talk? I don't know if you have any examples of things you did before Better Plan, like were you content marketing for products? Like, talk, give me some background there. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no worries. It was a little bit of everything. So content marketing, as essentially as a marketing company, right? So offering other companies ways to get content where they couldn't get it before. You know, it was expensive to hire a bunch of bloggers. Think about this again a while ago.
Yeah.
Hire a bunch of writers or bloggers in house. They also really didn't know a lot of the benefits that it brings to things like SEO, or just as, like I mentioned, as a brand. And so we were really just selling that as a service. And a huge industry for us was software as a service, cloud computing at the time, because they had needed a way to differentiate themselves, and they needed a way to actually get up the rankings on your SERPs, on the search engine results pages.
Yeah.
So did that, and that's what also got me into a lot of experience with those industries. So then when I left the content agency and went more private, started working for things like home services, and worked with large brands like 1-800-GOT-JUNK, which is a huge global company, and working on their marketing niche specific. But yeah, working in home services, got to work in travel as well, e-commerce, obviously, because that's big. And then now with Better Plant in a whole another industry, which we can get into if you
Yeah,
want it.
well, tell me, and we'll do a deeper dive into the company. Lots of things to come, but tell me. So, how do you get involved with Better Plant? And I'm assuming, with someone that has such a successful background, building a bunch of these businesses basically in different parts of the world. Uh, I'm assuming you got kind of to choose where you wanted to go. So, tell me, how you found Better Plant and why Better Plant maybe is a better answer.
Yeah. So again, having worked in those industries and having been in marketing for a while, knowing that marketing was still my passion, right? Like that's what got me up in the morning. It's easier when you can market great products, and it's easier when you can market great services. And it's especially easier when you're in an industry that's not overly saturated. So when I was looking at my next chapter, I knew that I didn't want to just go to any old job, right? I knew that I wanted to do something that energized me, that excited me. I wanted to do something that helped people if possible, or helped the environment if possible. And again, the holy grail of it is in an industry that was growing or hadn't even reached its peak yet. And so when I looked at this at Better Plant Sciences, and we're looking at plant-based products, you really considered it almost a blue ocean, right? Where it hasn't been overdeveloped. It's not overly saturated. There are not a lot of ships on the sea. So it marries all the best parts for me of being in that industry that is not only still growing, but still very untapped. And then a line of products and brands that are all meant to help people, that are all meant to help the environment. Like how do you not get excited for that every
Yeah.
single morning, right? How do you not go home being like, I've accomplished something today?
Yeah. Well, some teasers to come. Obviously, we're gonna have to talk about, how to advertise a new product, but also kind of a new market, and the
Yeah.
difference between, obviously, there's advertising and there's education, and we'll talk about that. But those are teasers for future videos. I'm curious, before we get into the company, we'll do that next week. Tell me a little bit more on what your day to day, week to week role is as the VP of digital marketing.
Yeah. So, because we have a consortium of brands, if you will, across different industries in a way, all within natural, all within plant-based. Again, teaser, tune in next week, I guess. It really varies, right? And so we're looking at advertising, like you said, different products, where some of it you need to actually educate. the market on. Some of you need to really explain why this is something that's beneficial to you. And in other cases, it's already an industry where people are starting to tap a little bit more into, like plant-based. There's a lot of people who are now really realizing the power of being plant-based, whether it's eating or whether it's in the products that they use day in, day out, but just something that's more environmentally friendly, good for you, good for the environment. That requires a wholly other type of advertising. So my day to day, my week to week is really working with the amazing team that we have here, and then just ensuring that we have the right message going to the right customer at the right time.
Yeah. No, awesome. Well, some good videos that come. Some pretty interesting industry like chats about how to market, new products and how you can switch. Like you said, you have a line of products. How do you have one angle here, one angle there? How do you find the balance? How do you find the right messaging? But Gabriel, thanks for joining. This was an awesome first video, and I do invite anyone who made it this far. If you've got questions, drop them below about things again about Gabriel or about Better Plan. We're definitely going to do some fun kind of interactive Q&A videos and other things. But Gabriel, last chance. Anything about you wanted to add into this video?
No, I think we want to keep it as a teaser. Let's give something for next week.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining. This is an awesome video.
Thanks for having me.